I want to challenge you that when you learn today, and you're going to learn a lot of different things today, pick 1 or 2 things that you're going to try your first 2 weeks of school. And then let this whole process start to take place and settle, and you're going to just see your lessons with your colleagues across district grow. It's going to be a wonderful experience. So at this point, I'm going to pass this over to Sebastian.
First thing I need you to remember is this URL right here, http bit.ly/Melville. And what bit.ly is, and people worked with me last year like, oh, he's talking about bit.ly again, I'm so tired of this. Bit.ly is like you, I am a teacher, so my favorite flavor is free. Things I tell you about here will always be, you can go sign up, create an account, it won't cost you any money. Bit.ly is one of those great services that if you sign up and get a free account, you can customize any URL, so it'll be something like bit.ly/Melville. So I'm going to show you, hopefully, when everyone logs on, we're going to be creating Google Sites and Google Pages and documents and all that, and they all have these big, humongous custom URLs, but you can tweak them out, put them in a bit.ly, and I'll show you a great way to share that with your students. So the first thing I want to bring to your attention is we are at bit.ly. Melville, and this is your goodie box, and what that goodie box is we're going to kind of dive into, but it's a collection of lesson plans, teacher training materials, links, all kinds of good stuff, and what goes in the goodie box is going to be determined by you, and I'm going to talk about how you make a request and how I put in the goodie box and ways we can follow up with that. But before we get started, I'm going to go over to, you see in the right hand side, it says agendas. I'm going to go over to where it says agendas. I'm going to go to today's agenda. And see briefly our goals for the participants. How do you feel right now? So basically I want to know is, do you feel, let me scroll that down a little. Okay, so how do you feel? What you're going to do is, with your cell phone, you're going to type a code. So in the address, everyone, take out your cell phone. Take it out. Take out your phones, and you're going to text. And you're going to send a text to 37607, and you're going to text one of these codes. How do you feel right now? Well, if you type 40909, excited, yay, it's a new school year. 41030, you're optimistic, lots of changes, hoping for the best. 41039, cautious, lots of changing, hoping for the best again. And 41046 is just, oh, come on, man, at least one more day at the beach. So let me show you how this works. I'll click on this picture, it gives me to a live link. Wow, you guys are good. Look at this, what enthusiasm. I see a lot of enthusiasm here for the new school year and a lot of optimism. One thing I just want to kind of emphasize here is, yes, you're all participating in part of this laptop program. I said this morning is, nobody's expecting you to be a computer teacher. The only thing that we're hoping that these laptops will do for you is give you some more tools to be more effective teachers and creating student engagement. So you are going to develop your skills at a natural pace. You know, you're not going to get in trouble if you're not, putting up, this level of kind of technology engaged lesson, because, that's not your job. Your job is to be an effective science teacher, and we really want to create the kind of environment where you can do that. As a teacher, you're going to determine the culture of your classroom. And if there's one thing I just want to emphasize is, yeah, you want to develop this. Yeah, you know what? I know some people say, well, now I'm concerned because these laptops are in my room and the kids know more about it than I do. What a great opportunity to show how fearless you are, how much you're willing to embrace the change, that you too are lifelong learners, just like you want them to be. So when you kind of walk in there, you're setting the culture for learning, and I think that's the most important thing. So hats off to you for that. The other thing I just want to say, this is kind of what we do, and Alicia will give you my schedule. I come back throughout the year. I'll be back in September this year, modeling lessons for you guys. But I'm also available throughout the entire school year. And You're going to see examples of that goodie box that I showed you, lesson plans that are in there, teacher training materials, all kinds of cool things. And what I put in there throughout the year is going to depend on what you ask me for. So when we get back to the agenda, make sure you also walk away at my email address, because that's going to be very important information for you. I'd like everyone just to remind you, you're going to come to this agenda right here, bit.ly/Melville. That is a bit.ly. We're going to look at that in a little bit more detail. But right now, let's go to today's agenda. Today is August 5th and 6th agenda. Okay, and if you click on that hyperlink, you're going to see this. Does the gamer generation like to be measured? Why do you think there's more of an emphasis now to recreate and as opposed to just learn content? And this kind of falls into the same realm of why people are, what takes them from consumers of digital media to producers of that. Why do you think there's the emphasis that? Now, if they do have information, access to all these different sources of information, what's one thing they're going to have to learn how to do?
Make sure it's a good site.
Make sure it's a good site. Is this valid information? When I've been teaching this for a while, one thing I used to show people is you have to learn to check the credibility of your sources. You have to be able to determine what is a valid source of information. When I was doing this kind of workshop 10 years ago, I used to point people in the direction of a Martin Luther King website. And on the surface, that was a great website because it had all the information: when he was born, his important milestones in his life, his day of his death. It was only until you got a few clicks into the website that you realized this was put up by the KKK. And you're like, and then of course everything just fell apart, and it was a terrible waste of time and all that. But this is something, imagine all the sources that students are now exposed to, and the ability to kind of say, well, okay, if I'm going to make a good quality product, I have to make sure my sources are coming in. So now we can't just take things on the surface. Be honest. Does the technology for philosophy of bring it out when we need it, put it away when you don't, make you feel better? Does anyone want to argue with this statement? Does anyone want to say, no, we shouldn't put it away, we should always be online, we should always be using technology? Why not? There's time when technology is inappropriate. This is my wireless card. This is my laptop. These are my 2 iPads. Yet, every morning, the first thing I check is my handwritten journal. This is how I organize myself. I'm from New York. I take the subway all the time. This is the most reliable form of technology I have for organizing my day. It fits in my pocket. I got the soft cover one, so I can put it in any suit jacket, pants pocket and all that. When I walk around, this is what I carry. This is the first and foremost thing. And why? Because this is what gets the job done most effectively in some scenarios. Let me just show you this on the website. I'm going to go through, here on the website underneath the guide questions. I'm going to be going through these bullet points right now: active engagement, participation in groups, frequent and interactive feedback, connection to real-world experts. I'm not going to encourage you to follow along on my PowerPoint, but I want you to be aware that underneath all these bulleted points, there are research documents, and some of them are pretty cool. And particularly the one for group participation, you're going to see some ways to organize your groups that you might not have done before. It might work out. So let's talk about what makes a really good technology-infused classroom. And I'll give you a hint. It's not everybody staring at their computer screen. Okay, so there are 4 components, like I said: active engagement, participation group, frequent interaction, and feedback, connection to real-world experts. Okay, active engagement. How many of you think you have active engagement in your classroom right now? Let's just look it over. You have self-directed problem solving. How do you create the buy-in? How do you motivate your kids? How do you get them excited about what you're trying to teach them? You don't need computers to do that. They help. It's a good tool. They feel familiar. Maybe if they're used to using this medium, it creates that buy-in for them. But I'm sure you were doing this, for those of us who've been teaching more than 5 years, you were doing this before the computers were in your classroom. You had authentic, relevant tests. They could see the connection, what they were doing. They had, they were working with each other. Seamless natural assessment. Can anyone give me an example of how I do seamless natural assessment in the classroom?
Ask a question.
Ask a question. Thank you. Did you get what I just said? See, that was a seamless natural assessment. I'm checking for comprehension. You don't need a computer to do that. Yeah, you can. There are little buzzes and whistles and all that. We'll talk about that in a second. And again, you're going to, as the teacher, you determine the culture for your classroom. You're going to really model everything. You're going to model how you want them to interact with each other. You're going to model the end product. You're going to model the roles in when group participation. If you're differentiating your class, you're going to show them how you can choose one option or the other, what the end results were, what the process, product, content, all that is. And my favorite here is, yes, you're going to determine the culture of risk-taking and growth. And what better way to do that than to model this with your own use of technology? This is a fantastic opportunity. Okay, participation groups. Is there anybody in here who doesn't have their students work in groups? Yeah, I didn't think so. We know this is how kids know better. They always like to learn from each other. They got the feedback. You know, the great thing about that is you often building consensus. This is one of the ones I brought out that if you're on the website, if you look under the bullet point that says participation in groups, there are two tables, or two figures on that research document. One says table 1, one says figure 1. I don't know why they just didn't do table 1 and 2 or figure 1 and 2. They just didn't. But it shows you kind of meaningful ways of grouping your students. You know, you're going to use 2 students for a simpler task and kind of scaffold up to like having up to 6 kids in a group. And what the sophistication of the task and the challenges and all that. So it's a very good document. And I just suggest you look at it. And you're going to have different sets of rules for group work. Again, the bigger the group, the different the task, you're going to set different rules. This I like. This I just found out. 5 states of group development. Forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And if you just look at that research bulletin point, it kind of walks you through how this really builds great group work. And this is something really when it comes to technology is you're going to be organizing your groups and conducting group work in a whole new way that this might be a very helpful document for you. We're going to actually work on a unit of study in a little bit, and I want you to try to adapt some of these strategies into that so you can come back and look at this in a little bit more detail. Okay, frequent interaction and feedback, nothing new. You know, my first question I put up here in the technology environment is, what sort of automatic feedback do you get from technology? Can't log in, thank you very much, good answer. Okay, I'll give you a hint. I was an English teacher, I've done this, but the red squiggly line. First form of feedback, followed by the green squiggly line. Spelling and grammar challenges. But you want students to be ready for that kind of feedback. Also, how do peers provide feedback to each other? Whether it be over a technology program or other piece of work. I'm sure you're all familiar with the phrase accountable talk. You know, we have to model that for students. We have to let them know that, you know, I always like to use the phrases warm and cool feedback, not hot and cold. So I always have them, you have to really come up with a vocabulary of accountable talk. Technology can help with that, particularly if you model and record some of that stuff. Again, in the research link under the frequent interaction block, the 6 features. This is from the University of Sydney, Australia. If you want to follow that through, well, like I said, we're going to be doing some drafting of a unit plan. You might want to come back with that. And how can technology enable us to provide private feedback and public praise? One thing I was telling the English teacher is I don't really believe in final paper products anymore. Because, you know, I was an English teacher. I've done a lot of work with that. Students do all this work. They write a research report for you. They hand it to you. Who sees it? They see it, and you see it. And that's it. All this work is poured over for an audience of 1. There's no need for that. Melville School District has these Google Sites for Education. Your students should be publishing their work. It should be out there. for other people to see so they get feedback. Raise the bar, raise the expectation. It's very, very simple to do that. In fact, I dare say it's easier to have students start publishing their stuff in a protected Google site than it is for you to take 30 papers per class, mark them, and then give them back. And then what happens to that paper? Hopefully you have better organization than I do. I had the metal box and a leaky classroom, to say the least. The last aspect I want to look at, and this is where technology really makes a difference. Connection to real-world experts. This is the most important, most powerful way to connect school learning to the real world. How do I find an expert to interact with my students? Let's see, if only there was some kind of knowledgeable base of adults I could connect through with my students. Oh wait, what do you call it? Parents. I'm sure that if you were to reach out to the parents, you'd find a couple, maybe more, several dozen viable experts in different fields who would love to lend their voice to your classroom experiments. You know, parent volunteers. The college connection. I'm sure a lot of you are still taking graduate school courses. Professors love to interact with that. And if you're going to get people, parents, professors to interact, make sure you plan for success. Make sure they know what they're getting into. And again, this was a great thing where I just wanted to find the right project. A friend of mine was working with the music department in school, and he actually managed to set up like a 15-minute Skype interview with the founder of Pandora Radio. And the kids loved that, because they just, oh my God, hey, I use your station all the time. And this guy literally, like, he was a self-made millionaire for his love of music. And it really got kids asking 1,000 questions, so you find the right project. And the last thing is local businesses. I'm sure there are people in the community who would love to actually get to talk in your classroom. So this is what I want to see when I look at, a technology infused classroom. These are the type of things where I say, oh, this is a fantastic use of time. And if you'll notice, I'd say right off the bat, you're doing 80% of this stuff already. So all we're going to do is include the technology in what's already your established best practices in teaching. So you're going to see this in a second. We're going to be talking about submitting papers through Google Docs, which is actually a much easier way. Alicia and I actually use Google Docs all the time to just craft agendas. She puts comments, I respond to them. You can actually have a dialogue. So imagine if I have a piece of writing from a student's point of view, and I'm going to look at an example of writing in science capacity in a second. But instead of like, okay, I write a draft, I hand it to the teacher. A draft is supposed to be, you have expectations. It's going to be in a certain form before you get it. What if from the first few sentences you had access to that student's document and you could put just a little comment here, a little comment there, and they could respond to your comments, and you can actually have a whole conversation in the margins as the document is growing, day by day, page by page. I'm just saying that back and forth with the paper, there's no point in that. When all this work can be done online, and you can just have a very accessible conversation that doesn't have to end between, you have them for what, 50 minutes?
No, 95.
95, but I'm saying it doesn't have to happen during the school day. In fact, when I show you comments on Google Docs, which is what we're going to get into in a second, you're going to see that a lot of the documents, a lot of times I have students commenting on stuff, it's 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So it works out really well. If you have the choice, try to make the right choice. Google Chrome. That's the best way to go. The reason I say that is, yes, it does work so much better with all the Google products, and unlike these insecure, clunky browsers like Internet Explorer, Google Chrome is always up to date. You never have to install the latest version. So whenever you launch it, they're doing all the updates at their end, so you never have to say, oh, well, it's incompatible. You should install the new version. So if you can, please use Google Chrome. Okay, now, I'm going to show you your goodie box and all that. Let me actually do that first. This whole site is a goodie box. I built this with Google Apps for Education. What this is, it has my best practices, it has my teacher training materials, it has sample lesson plans, It has screencasts. It has how-to guides. If you just kind of click through all those tabs, you're going to find a lot of materials we've been populating for the last 2 years with. I will put more materials in here based on your request. A couple of things I just want to show you is, here's some model lessons. Okay. This is from physics, energetic graphs. And what you can see is I have my standards-based here. The teacher has embedded a video which students can play. I'm signed in, not to that one. Okay. Obviously, I did not make this one. This is a Google form. If you scroll down a little, what this does is, has anyone used Google Forms before? Yes, Google Forms is an amazing way. We're going to look at this in a little bit more details, where I can capture all the information from a class and then save it on a spreadsheet. I can also set it up as a self-grading quiz that will email the students automatically the results of their test. It's kind of cool. I just want you to see there. I'll give you some more examples in a second, but I have a lot of ready-made lessons in there. I do all kinds of training materials. If you ask me for a lesson plan for a particular subject, I will do my best to build it for you. Okay. On the very top of the, above section 2, right here, where it says Part 2, Learning and Teaching with Technology, above that, you see a grayed out hyperlink that says use this template. Does everybody see that? I'm going to show you how we can all work together on the same document at the same time. This is going to be collaboration like you haven't seen before. If you're new to Google Docs, this will rock your world today. I'm going to show you how I can take an existing Google document, and I'm going to copy it, I'm going to rename it, I'm going to share it. And what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to have multiple people work on these documents. Then I'm going to show you how to make a shared folder and start sharing this with people, entire classes, with just a click of the button. Then we're going to build a website. We're going to put stuff in there. It's going to be amazing. Okay, I go to where it says File, and then there's an option that says Make a Copy. See at the beginning of that it says Copy Of. You're going to take out where it says Copy Of. You're going to put your last name. And I click on OK. Now if you look up here, you'll notice in the upper left corner the name of the document has changed to reflect my last name. Mundrone Technology. Yes, my last name is Mundrone. Now, I copied, I renamed. What was the last step? Share. Here's easy. Here's where your friends come into play. You go to Share. And if you notice, it's a private document. It's only accessible to me because I created it. What you're going to do is you're going to start typing the names of all the people in your group. What I want you to do is, when you're doing this, is make sure you share this with everyone who's in your group, all your far away, close away, close away, is that a word? Close friends. Make sure you share this. And then after you get everyone's name in there, ladies and gentlemen, if you look up here, you'll see I have two people. I have two great volunteers, Lauren and Stephanie here, and I've shared them, and now I'm about to click on Share and Save. Now, what's going to happen is I have this box checked, notify people by email. If I wanted to add a little custom message here, I could. I don't. But I could add a message. But I'm just going to click on Share and Save. And then, since Lauren is on an email, it's in front of a computer, I'm not judging you. I'm just going to sit here. I click Share and Save. Lauren, would you do me a favor? Would you check your email account? Do you know how to do that?
You should have been a yes.
Yes, you do. Now, for those of you who are saying, I'm on the screen right now, I'm not sure how to check my email, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is come up to where your name is in the upper right corner and click on Account. Lauren, did you get an email from me?
I did.
What does it say? Now, would you do me a favor? I just want to make sure I sent the right one.
Open it?
Yeah, could you open it?
Howard Pay.
They sit in 4 computers next to each other and they all work together, but that one person had to be the typer because they could all add. They could all do pages and add.
And would you do me a favor? Would you see where it says Teachers? Could you type your name in cell B2? where it says ecology, would you say subject title grade level? Could you just put ecology? Okay, now if you notice, Lauren and I are simultaneously editing this document. But I'd like every teacher to kind of get the experience of working collaboratively on a document. This is a Google spreadsheet. I can convert any Microsoft document, whether it be word processing, PowerPoint, or spreadsheet, so it becomes a Google document, and I can work on it in real time, online, simultaneous collaborators. For those of you who teach physics and want to use formulas in this class, I can actually start doing various data. I can have students doing experiments around the class, putting in data into tables with formulas. They'll automatically transform the numbers simultaneously. This is an amazing tool for you to have. So what Google Docs enables you can do is you can take any presentation, that's Google Talk for PowerPoint, you can take any presentation and each student can be working on a slide simultaneously. So it's very realistic for you to have 3 students crank out 8, 12, 15 slides in a class for a full presentation in one class period. This is an amazing way that you can get them to work collaboratively. When I go to File, you'll see my options are document, presentation, spreadsheet, form, drawing. But I want you to get some experience creating documents, sharing documents, working in documents. And I'll give you a little hint. You do what you want. But if you create a slideshow, by the end of the day, I'll show you how to build a website and embed a rotating slideshow in your web page in about 1 minute. That's how long it'll take you. I'm not going to show you in 1 minute, but it'll take you 1 minute to build a website with a rotating slideshow in it, if you have the slideshow made. So think about that. How many of you have used PowerPoint somewhere in your teaching career? Really? It's only 32 years old. You know, I understand if you haven't gotten to it yet. But one of the things a lot of my teachers do is they take their old PowerPoints, they upload them into Google Docs. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to show you how to upload a local file, convert it into a Google compatible format, and then you can embed it in a web page later on. So let me show you how to upload a document, and then I'm going to let you guys play around a little. This is for everybody. If I go back to my Google Drive, if I go back to my Google Drive, there it is, and I click on this rather clever icon with the up arrow. The up arrow is short for upload. Clever, I know. If I do that and I click on File, now this isn't my laptop, so I just have one very small PowerPoint I made for this morning. It says Convert to Google Presentation. So I'm going to click on this.
That's the goal.
Now, if you'll notice, I have my conversion on. So I upload a PowerPoint and the conversion was on. Now if you look at my drive, it says Convert to Google Presentation, and it says it has like that little gold slide on it. If I turn the conversion off, if I go to Settings and I uncheck that box and I upload it again, you'll see now when it appears in my drive, it's just going to be the PowerPoint P and end with the, the PPTX ending. The difference is this. If I click on this, if I click on the PowerPoint version, it's file storage. I'm just looking at a static lockdown image. However, if I click on the one I converted, I can now share it, and I can work online, either by myself or with shared collaborators. Everything I do in Google Docs is automatically saved. I never have to hit the save button. I never lose my work. It's automatically saved. And you won't see it really impressive here, but if I go to revision history, it tells me every single time this document has been saved or auto-saved. This means when I have student collaborators and one kid wants to mess it up, I can undo that. If kids are complaining, "Oh, Mr. Mondrone, I was working on this for 5 hours last night." Really? Because revision history says you were online for 6 minutes. You can get access to every version, recall all the history, and undo any changes that might have gone awry. This is a fantastic way. You cannot do that in any kind of the Microsoft locally stored documents, but you can do it online stored documents. The question was, how do I stop, if I want to share my PowerPoints, how do I stop people from being able to interact with it?
Yes.
When I come to share, if I add people, or I can do this, you'll see, well, let me actually add somebody here. I can edit, can comment, or just view. So I can share this with people. They'll be able to click through it. Then they might be able to make comments off on the side, or they just might be able to view it. So just because I share a document with you doesn't mean you can change it. You actually create shared folders.
Okay.
So everything you put in that shared folder is shared with that group. You never have to worry about those names again. Now, this is a site I want to show you. This is a Google site. I kind of created this with a teacher I work with up in the Bronx, and it's just a cool lesson on homeostasis. This is done, we did this for a variety of reasons, because we were getting their kids into their Google accounts. And also, we have this thing now where we have a very strong push in New York right now for science to be under the umbrella of literacy. And all the things that they're expected to do in ELA classes are kind of expected to demonstrate these same skills in science. But we also, of course, teach the concept of homeostasis. So I just want to walk you through kind of how I set up this site to give you kind of the, hey, I'd like to do that before the end of the school year, motivation if you like. And then Karen, right? Karen shared with me a beautiful PowerPoint that she had stored in her local drive, shared drive here in the Melville School District. And what we did was we took it out of that shared drive. She put it up to her Google Drive. Yeah, this is where the jargon gets a little confusing. And I'm going to show you how we're going to take her network stored PowerPoint and bring it into a Google environment. And that's going to probably help you. I can't believe you had all that material and you've had such an illustrious career. Congratulations. But this is my lesson on homeostasis. So as you can see, I have my activities, I have my do now, and I embedded a video. This is something where, if you notice, I have guiding questions. So at any point, my students come here.
Okay, this lecture is going to cover the process of homeostasis.
It normally doesn't do that.
And homeostasis refers to consistency of conditions.
Okay, now, before we even got to that, it's, I take into account that things have to load. Now, if you notice, the first thing I did was, this is a Google form. And this is just a quick way of kids' first day of the concept of homeostasis. So I said, when you hear the word homeostasis, I want you to think of 4 words. They never heard it before. It was, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Yeah, IDK, exactly. Thank you. I was overreaching there. Then we watched that video. And then I had them the next 4 words. So I just want to give a little premise. So that was the first thing we did. Is the first 4 words you think of when you hear the word homeostasis. They put it into that. Then we watched this video. We're not going to watch the video right now. It's just a short 2.5-minute video. It's about homeostasis. And I know that at 3 points during this 2.5-minute video, I stopped the tape, I stopped the video, and I asked them to turn and talk, just like I did with you guys earlier today. I do like that, and I do like using video as a very controlled, focused way for students to navigate material. So after they watched the video, they came back, and they put another 4 words in there. So then what I wanted to do was I wanted to look at the results of all this. This is a Google form. And I click here to look at the results. These are all the different answers I got. You could see how the things came in. And what I did for each class, I used this, I separated this, I had markers here. I copied this. So I take words like this, and I copy them. And then what I did was I put them into a word cloud. And this is just a link I put in. This is Wordle.net. Has anyone ever used this? It's free, like everything I use. And then I just paste it here. Whoops. And I just paste it here. And this generates the word cloud. And the more times a word is repeated, the bigger it appears in the word cloud. So I clicked on Create. Oh, whoops. And hopefully this will work on this computer. I think it might. And it creates a word cloud. So then what I did, because we had the site edit. Now this is just a big picture idea. If you get comfortable with Google Sites, I promise you, this is not a, oh my God, this took you weeks to develop. No, this was the night before. For those of you who create lesson plans the night before, I'm sure you're all better people than that. But I copy this, and then I pasted it into our actual website. I just clicked on Edit, I saved it to the desktop, I put it in there, I did this with a couple of classes, we did that. Moving right along, we then had to do, I said, there's a big push for science to act like a ELA class now. You might be hearing with the writing and the reading. So what I did was, I'm just going to pick one at random, so forgive me if it's not a good one. It's not. But what this is this is using Google Docs. And all I did is I've given them a task, skim this article, write down the names of the 6 sections. This is the workspace. What these students didn't do is they had to get another student to grade them. So it was kind of a collaboration thing, but they were working in groups here. So here are the tasks. They had an article to read about homeostasis. And
Write the article somewhere else, I assume? Like,
right down here.
oh, okay, sorry.
It just, if you scroll down. But each one of these tasks was like, you have to find vocabulary words, you have to put in a picture, each workspace correlates to one of that. Then if you go further down into the article, you see they had a comment here. This is what I mean when I say insert comments into Google Docs. So here they had to define every cell. Homeostasis refers to the internal balance. The body must maintain ensure health and all that. One thing I do, no matter what the subject is, I usually have them find key vocabulary and change the color of the font, because no matter how old kids get, they still live to change the color of font. So this is a quick way to get them engaged. They skim the article. I want students to not only just read an article, I want them to go back and renegotiate it. So a great thing I like to do, no matter what subject I'm teaching, is I like them to skim the article. So they just kind of get a really big picture. Okay, hypothalamus, that's going to be a word I come back to. I got to change that. That was one of the words Ms. Monroe said to change the color to. So they do that, they skim it, then they're going to put in comments. Then they're going to put in pictures up in the work frame. What's a picture of a hypothalamus? What's a picture of receptor cells? Also in this document, there are mentions of dehydration and diabetes in the context of homeostasis. They had to insert a hyperlink to another article that explains more details about either diabetes or dehydration. So they're kind of navigating this. This is a great way for them to get out, make a much bigger connection of, they really got the homeostasis concept of this. Now, this was not a lot of work. It's a little sophisticated, but this is what I do. But the teacher was very grateful to have these kind of things, this kind of activity going on in a classroom. There are the outside references. So this is kind of a big picture of what a Google site could look like. And the great thing about this is, when she teaches this again this year, I have the original documents all ready to be researched. We're going to research some hyperlinks and all that, but the majority of this lesson is done. And she shares this with other teachers across her department who are also teaching homeostasis, and it's a great way to kind of really share best practices and materials. I do a lot of work in transfer high schools, which means students are overage and undercredited, and every day the daily attendance is in 60%. So that means every student misses an average of 2 days a week. My teacher's like, how do I build a continuum of learning? I go, we do this. So they have access to it 24/7. You know, it's like there's no excuse. At the end of the week, all my materials are up. You need to, you know, be up to speed next time you walk in the door. The question is, how do I share this with multiple classes without getting everybody's comment on, you know, when I don't want every single student in 3 different classes commenting on a single article. That's okay. All I did was, you see, all these are links. I took the same article and I copied it. So this was just file, make a copy, file, make a copy. It took me 30 times, but it did take about 2 minutes for me to make all these copies. And I just hyperlinked them here. So I have a folder with all these documents. So if you were to open up my Google Drive right now, there's a folder that says homeostasis, articles, or whatever. And at the top, you know, there's all my period 1, period 6, and period 8. That's when we taught this lesson. So I just made multiple copies. It's sometimes in your advantage to have the class work off a single text. We'll talk about when that's appropriate, but in this case it's not. I only want 2 or 3 kids commenting on each one. But then I have my revision history. So again, just if I come here, see there, here's my revision history. And I can see what Joseph and Lewis and Justin were all doing in contributions. I can click on any one of these and see that child's particular contributions in comparison to the previous version of that document. So again, very helpful. Also, you can see if, you know, if you see someone's name only appears once or twice in a large revision history, you can say, where's your work? Why aren't you contributing to the group? You have the Google Help pages. I'm going to be asking for calls on how, you know, you want to see Google used. Again, Google Forms, so many great things you can be doing with this, but start small. Start with what you're going to, you know, feel comfortable with. Let me get back to my friend Karen here. I'm going to show you, I'm going to create a web page right now, and I'm going to embed a PowerPoint that was shared with me a few minutes ago. All she did was she went into her shared folder. Okay, so you all have stuff on your shared folder?
Oh, in the Melville side.
In the Melville stuff. In your Melville drive. In your Melville network. If you have stuff, just save it to your desktop. That was the big thing that Karen had to save as to your desktop. So then it stays in your Melville network, but you have a local copy on your desktop. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, what I'm going to do then is the one in my Melville network stays where it is. I don't have to touch it. It's there. It's safekeeping. Fantastic. I'll come back to it. It's good to know it's there. Now the one that's on my desktop, I'm going to upload that to my Google Drive, and I'm going to convert it so it's something I can use in my Google Sites and all my fun Google toys. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Or I'm going to show you how Karen helped me do that. She did all the work. I'm just taking the credit. Okay, so first thing I do is I go to my Melville School District account, and I go to Drive. And I close Shared with Me. And there, Karen, I just realized your last name is Forbes. Okay. So she shared this slideshow with me. It's pretty cool, huh? And then we have pretty good stuff. So I would love to build a website around this, right? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go back to my Drive, right? And first thing, just sort of make my life a little bit easier, because this was shared with me, and my default setting is my own drive, the stuff I own. It's very easy. All I got to do is take this and drag it over to my drive. So now it exists in my drive. And that's going to be the default setting, so I don't have to look for anything again. So now I have this PowerPoint. When you upload it to your drive, this is where it's going to be. That's why I wanted to move it right now. So I have this cool slideshow, and I want to put in a website because this is how I want to start teaching. I come up here to Sites. If you want to follow along at this point, this is a good time. So I'm going to come up to my black bar. Again, if you don't have the black menu bar at the top of your screen right now, all you have to do is click on where it has your name in the upper right corner and click on Account. And from there, you'll get the black menu bar at the top of your screen. And you're going to click on where it says Sites. Is everybody with me? Everybody wants to be with me. Okay, or you can go through the Google interface right there, the melvilleschooldistrict.net. There's an icon that brings you straight into your sites. So, it's not too difficult here. It's pretty straightforward. I'm going to click on Create. Now, it's pretty simple here in Melville. I can actually customize templates and all that, but let me keep it simple for you. Blank template is your best friend. Start simple. Blank template is just a single page. You don't have to take out anything you don't need. There's no distractions, no bells, no whistles. It's nice and blank. It's a great place to start. So, whoops. I'm calling this website Science Rocks. You'll forgive the pun. And I'm going to, even though I want a blank template, I like a little color. So again, I'm going to click on down here where it says select a theme. And because I've already started with a pun, I'm going to choose the theme of slate. Slate, rock, okay, never mind. And I click on Create. So create, give it a name, choose a theme, click Create again. 3-step process. Okay, so here it is. Again, I clicked on Create, I gave it a name, I chose a theme, I clicked on Create again. Now I have a nice blank website. Okay? There are a lot of cool ways I can dress this up, but right now I want to start with the most basic one. I want to put in that awesome slideshow. So to edit a website, you're going to see it's pretty easy. This is why I say it's once you get used to it, I create websites just about every day of my professional career, or at least web pages. To make a web page, after you get it created, all you got to do is click on the pencil. See that pencil button in the upper right corner? That's your edit button. When you click on that, it looks like a lot of other programs look. I got the typical font information. You'll see the chain that lets me know that I can insert a hyperlink. And the one thing you're going to see that's a little bit different than other programs you're used to is that first option right there that says Insert. You see that? Let me open that up and we'll talk about some of those options. Insert. Now, you'll see I have images and all that, but this is where things start getting interesting. This side is pretty much Google stuff. I can include videos like you saw on that Homeostasis. Forms, again, you saw that up on the screen. Presentation, that's what I want to use right now. Presentation is Googleese for PowerPoint. And there's that awesome rocks one. And I click on Select. Now, I have a couple of options. I want the title there. But something I like about websites, my favorite thing to do is I like a little animation. I like things to move. I like sparkly things too. I'm going to click on Start Slideshow as soon as the player loads. And I'm going to restart the slideshow. So what I've done now is I've created my slideshow is going to be a rotating presence on this slideshow. If I don't choose these buttons, it'll be static, but any viewer on my website will be able to control the slideshow, move it back and forth. So all that information you have on your old PowerPoints, you can put up on a web page that students can visit, and they can click through your slides at their convenience. And now, anyone who visits this site is going to see this. You saw on the other site, I could put in guiding questions, I could hyperlink to forms, I could put in documents, but it's going to live there forever. And like you saw earlier today, I always like to take all my websites, put it on a nice little bit.ly. So in this case, I might put Forbes Rocks. Yeah, so that's for you, Miss Forbes there. And they know they can come to this chart, and they're going to see everything they need to know about this particular lesson. You have to, this is a PowerPoint. Okay, excellent question. This is a PowerPoint. If all you have to do is upload it again, and make sure, let me show you one thing. The conversion has to be on. It won't embed a PowerPoint. It has to embed a presentation. A presentation is a converted PowerPoint to Googleese, as I coined the phrase a few minutes ago. So I click on my account, so I get the black bar, and I go to Drive. Okay? Now, I want to, let me make my expectations very clear. I want to upload a locally stored PowerPoint and convert it so I can use it in a Google site. Is everybody clear on that? All right? So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to click on this button right here, this arrow pointing up. That's the clever icon for upload. I click on that, and now it's just like adding an attachment. I click on File, and I have Convert to Google Presentation. I click on Open. Now, if you'll notice here, my settings says Conversion On. If your settings say Conversion Off, you can't use the slideshow because all it is uploading a PowerPoint. Your Google Drive can act as a fantastic file storage system. You can save your smartboard lessons, you can save videos, you can save music, you can save any kind of file known to man. But you can't embed it in a website unless it's been converted to Google Docs format. You see where it says Settings? Right here. See that? You click on that and you make sure that little line that says Convert Uploaded Files to Google Docs format is checked. Now it's off. I click on Settings. Now it's on. Also, if you use Google Chrome, you can upload an entire folder in one fell swoop. So you don't have to upload each individual document. Google Chrome is the only browser that will let you upload an entire folder and convert them with one click. If you upload a folder, you're going to get a folder here.
And you click on that folder and then do your individual stuff.
Right. They'll be in there, but they'll already be pre-converted for you.
Okay. Oh, sorry. How do you delete?
Excellent question. How do you delete? Select, and then you see the trash can.
Oh, then I go. Okay, got it.
Now I've converted my Convert to Google presentation. You'll see there it is. And remember, here's the difference. P, PowerPoint. The orange slide is Google presentation. This I can use. This I can use and I can work on collaboratively. I can work on it in the cloud. I can open this up. I can type on it. I can share it. You can all type on it. This PowerPoint, I'm just using this as file storage. It's there. If I want to work on it some more, I have to download it and open it up through PowerPoint. Does that make sense to everybody? So now let me just drive home the point. I want to convert my convert to Google this presentation. I want to put it in that awesome website that I just created. So I'm going to come back to Sites. There's my Science Rocks one. Okay, there's Karen's cool web slideshow. I'm going to click on Edit. I'm going to embarrass myself by adding my humble thing to this. I go Insert, Presentation. There's the one I made. I'll keep this one medium. And I'm not going to make this one rotate. I'm just going to add it, as a static site. And now I click Save. Right. Now, if anyone comes to my site, Karen's is rotating automatically, but if you'll notice, I still have advanced slides right here. You see the arrow buttons on both my slideshows. Anyone who comes to this site can click through these slides at their convenience. So you can put a PowerPoint here, or not a PowerPoint, a Googleese presentation. You can put one of those here, and you can put your guiding questions right here. You can put a link to a document that they have to, it could be in a shared folder that they automatically work on and hand back to you. Well, not actually hand back to you, you just have access to it. The question is, now that it's up there, my students can view it, but I want to make sure they can change it around a little. Okay, excellent question. Let me show you, when you're embedding presentations into a slideshow, now this is different because I'm working under my own account, but when I made up the websites for our workshop today, you had a slideshow, you had a video, you had all that stuff. Let me make sure in my drive there are settings. So here is the igneous rock chart, and I click on share. Well, right now there's only 2 people, so if everyone else was to come to this site, they wouldn't even see this. Right now the only people who can view this site is Karen and myself. You just all happen to be looking at the site now because we're hooked up to my computer. Here's how I want to make sure my presentation is ready to be viewed by a student audience but can't be changed. It's under your share settings, and all I'm going to do is this. It says private, only people listed below can access. I don't need that. I'm going to change it. Okay, people at the Melville School District, or just anyone in Melville, that's fine. I'm going to say anyone at Melville can see this. But now there are 2 options. Can view and can edit. When I want you to work on collaborative documents, I change that to edit. When I want you to be able to navigate it for material but not change it, I keep it at can view. I click save, and it's done. So Karen owns it. I can edit it. Everybody else can view it. Make sense? All right. How do I delete it? Excellent. Watch. Very, very simple. Okay. I have more than a few things I can delete out of my drive right now.
On my website.
Oh, okay. I'll demonstrate. How do I take a slideshow out? Go back to my Science Rocks. Okay, now let me decide what slideshow do I want to get rid of here? I think I don't want to be rude to Karen, so I'll get rid of mine. I click on edit. I know this is where mine is. There's an X, and that's it. Click on save. If I want to delete a site, pretty simple. I click on More, Manage Site. Right here, there's an option. Delete this site. That's it. Doesn't come back. It's gone. If you could generate 1 single page a week with just your teaching points, one other thing you can do, even if you don't want to get crazy and say, all right, this embedding stuff is making me nuts. I'd love kids to have access to my PowerPoints, but enough is enough. I can draw the line. Here's the simplest way. You can put up a web page, update it once a week, and have kids have access to all your teaching materials. It's called attachments. I think you've heard of that word before. Observe. Now, Google Sites by default will not have the landing page allow attachments, but you can change that. If I add another page, attachments are the default setting, but not on the landing page. But watch. Here's how I change this. I can do this. I go to More, Page Settings. And I just want to allow attachments on this page. So I click that box. Again, I went to More. It's up here. More, Page Settings. I just want to allow attachments. Now, any kind of attachment is good here. I can attach PDFs, Microsoft Word, PowerPoints, videos, Smartboard lessons, any possible file as long as it's under 25 megabytes, can be added as an attachment to a web page. I click Save. Nothing's changed, except here at the bottom. Now, if you look at the bottom of my page, I got this option that says Add Files. I click on that. And anything that I don't have a lot on this computer. I'm going to use that bad PowerPoint again. And now, that PowerPoint has been added to my web page. And anybody who visits this web page can download this PowerPoint simply by clicking the download arrow over here. So you can put a video, that's an excellent choice, worksheet, prompt, whatever. Anything you can hand out in class, you can attach to your website. In fact, like I said, a lot of the schools I work at that have attendance issues, that's something they do. They say, whether you show up at school or not, this is due on Monday the 18th. If you don't show up until Monday the 18th, it's still due. You have to download it and do your work. The first and foremost, the pencil is your edit button, and then you'll see the normal font, and that's just clicking it's like a word processing document right now. It's just a lot more versatile. That's why actually, whenever I create agendas for workshops and all that, that's why you got a web page today, and not a Google Doc or a handout, because everything I need to do, I can use a web page as a super interactive palette. And anything I want to put in here is available. And then when I'm done, I click on Save, and whatever I can type here, you know. I would go a little bit nuts, and I'd actually try to create a couple other pages. Well, how do I do that, you ask? I'm so glad. This is a website, and I'm going to put a couple of different pages on it. You don't have to add a new web page for every day of the week, but you might want to space it out a little. I know a lot of times I'm working on these big, complicated math performance tasks, and I'll have like 3 pages for the whole week. And one will be a resource page, so you know how to, like, here's a video with screencast and all that. But to add a page, it's pretty complicated. You see that symbol up there that has the plus on a page? You guys are tough. Next to the pencil. Plus page. Tough audience. You click on that, name your page. Rocky 2. All right, now here's my home page, and there's Rocky 2. I don't like the side horizontal bar, or the sidebar. I like the horizontal navigation bar. So just bear with me 1 second. I click on More, Page Layout, Horizontal Navigation. I got Home, and I can add a page, Rocky 2. And now I have my home page. Whoops. Close that. So now I have my home page, and I got Rocky 2. I could turn the other one off very easily. If I just come back to More, Site Layout, you see it has horizontal and sidebar. If I click on sidebar, I turn it off. I click it again, I turn it back on. Kind of cool. Like Alicia said, just challenge yourself that maybe in the first couple of weeks of school you're going to put up a web page, like maybe even your best class practices. So what are your students expected to do in your class? What's your homework policy? What's your lateness policy? What's your grading policy? You can make a page like that. put up there. And then if you have multiple classes and all that, you can see by the goodie box, there's a lot of ways. If you actually get into the goodie box and understand that's just a very complicated Google site that I have listed to external sites as well as sub-sites and all that, there's a lot to be done. But that's kind of the limitations you have here. There are very few limitations. So challenge yourself in that first week of school. These are my grading policy. These are my homework policies. And these are some of our more important subjects. You know, and you could add attachments and all kinds of cool things. So this, again, is just the tip of the iceberg. How can I make a bit.ly? How can I say, okay, I want my students to go to this website, but I don't want them to search for things. I don't want to share it. I just want to have a nice, quick, easy access URL that they can do. Very simple. Okay? First thing I do is I copy the URL as it is. Okay? Copy it. Now, this isn't my normal computer, so I'm going to hopefully remember my bit.ly login for this. Hopefully. I then paste the link here. And this is why I say you got to get an account. Because when you get an account, you can then customize it. So I click on the pencil here, and now I want to say MV Rocky or MV Rocks. Okay? It says I'm the first one. I do that. I copy it. Now I go back to my site. I click on Edit. I paste it. One thing I just want to remind everybody is bit.ly is case sensitive. So if you notice MV is capital, everything else is lowercase. But right now, all you have to do, I'll actually make that a little bit bigger for you. So right now, if you just go into your browser and you type bit.ly/M rocks, you'll get to this website. You know, your students are going to have these laptops with them 24/7. How are you going to make the homeschool connection? How are they going to continue what they start in your classroom at home? Well, we said, you know, technology is not the silver bullet for education. But it can be what helps create the bond. It gives them the flexibility to access the materials at their own pace. You know, sometimes, we all know this, kids not having the best of days. They might have a cold, they might have had some kind of teenage angst going on in their life, they're just a little distracted, but they still take their schoolwork seriously. How are they going to get access to the material you taught that day? Here's a great example. It's quick, it's easy. And, you know, it's not something everyone's going to be expected to insert, like, well, I expect everyone to have a site with video and forums and interactive. No. But if you take that first step and you learn, share it with your colleagues, and like Alicia said, the first 2 weeks of your teaching this year is going to look a lot different than the last 2 weeks. And we're here to help you, to support you. And this is going to kind of bring me into the conclusion for today, where you get to tell me what I'm doing for the rest of the school year. I thought you might like that. Back on our agenda. Remember that? bit.ly, Melville. Everybody loves bit.ly. I know the last year's teachers are tired about it, but it does help. bit.ly, Melville, today's agenda. I'm coming back in September, and I'll be back throughout the school year. I will be in your classrooms, not everyone's classroom, but I'm going to be modeling lessons, creating lesson plans, creating the kind of materials. The teachers who send me requests get lesson plans developed for them. That's how I did it with the homeostasis. That's how I do it with other teachers. The more you communicate with me, the more I'm going to develop for you. I did some, if I say so myself, I was able to do some amazing lessons last year here in Melville and Oakville because so many teachers gave me great input. They were teaching the same subject, but they had little nuances each one wanted to emphasize, and it really helped us create a dialogue with some very well-developed lessons that I share in schools across the country. And I thank the teachers at Melville for taking that time and having the dedication to communicate and say, hey, I really care about this, and I want to make sure that kids understand this subtle part. And the more people we can have that kind of conversation with me, the more stuff we can develop. So at the bottom of today's agenda, there's a Google form. By the way, there's a lot of stuff with Google Forms on the METT pages. I think I said that right, as well as in the goodie box. But it says what you want. Basically, let me just paraphrase this. What do you want to happen? What do you want to see focus happening? Where would you like support? What kind of screencasts? What kind of materials would you like to see added to the goodie box, or even perhaps modeled in your own classroom? So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is fill this out and make sure you click on submit at the bottom here. Just so you know, I work with my company employs over 400 content specialists across the country. I have access to just about everyone. I'm not saying if you're teaching advanced calculus and you want me to give you a technology formula for anything in advanced calculus, I'll be honest with you. I'm going to ask one of my coworkers to help me out with the math. But my forte, what I'm known for, is I bring the technology tools to all the curriculum. So yes, I have 23 years teaching experience. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in every possible thing in the K-12 environment, but I have connections to them. And my specialty is to bring other people's area of expertise into accessible technology that's good for the K-12 environment. So email me. I might not know the answer off the top of my head, but I will find someone who does.